Welcome to KLEAN Radio, the show about addiction and how to overcome it, featuring celebrity and professional interviews with people in recovery and how successful treatment has brought remarkable changes in their lives. With your host, Andrew.
Yeah, it's amazing how pervasive, though, the issues of addiction and mental illness are in just daytime television. Obviously, it's a pretty major issue.
And Judah.
Well, it sounds profound if it doesn't make sense.
I guess so.
That's what I've learned about profoundness.
Break free of those habits that are controlling you. Life is waiting. Come and get it. KLEAN Radio starts now.
Welcome to KLEAN Radio, everybody. We're here tonight to talk about addiction recovery. I'd like to welcome a new station today in San Diego, 760 KFWB. And, of course, thank you to our flagship station, News Talk 980 KFWB. I'm Andrew Spanswick, and I'm the owner of Clean Treatment Center. I'm a therapist, and I work with therapy and addiction and recovery services. And I'm here with my co-host, the Judah.
Yes, I am Andrew's houseboy, sometimes writer, and co-host of
Mostly
Clean.
comic relief.
Mostly comic relief of KLEAN Radio. And welcome, San Diego.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. We're adding another station tonight.
I like San Diego.
Yeah, it's a cool place.
I was going to actually live in San Diego before I moved out here.
From New York?
Yeah. I was actually driving. This is actually a funny story. I was renting at my friend Chuck's house. I had an apartment to rent, and about 30 days before, I had put a good friend of mine in rehab. And that was from L.A., and as I was driving out here, he calls me up, and he goes, "You think you could stay by me for a while?" And I was like, oddly enough, I'm driving out there. And so I just passed by San Diego and came out to L.A., and I never left.
I have a feeling most things in your life have happened sort of by accident.
Well, that's random, you know.
Yeah.
When you're sober, that's the cool thing.
You just do.
You just do it. You
go with the moment.
Go with the flow, like a twig on a stream of an angry river.
And you're actually able to do something.
Yeah, I mean, which is like the coolest thing that anybody. Welcome all our listeners. It's a Sunday night, and I was talking to you about this. It was actually, I volunteer on Saturdays at your treatment center, and we have this thing called Sober Fun Day. Right. And all of us yesterday went to LACMA, which is the Los Angeles County Museum of Modern Art, which. Really means.
I'm so amazed you got that right.
Yeah, so am I, by the way. But it's really all it means is we have crap here. Every time you hear modern art, it's basically like this isn't real art yet, and we'll just charge people. And it was sort of fascinating. It was about 10 of us, and we were walking through, and we walked through really quickly through most of the rooms. But every time we would go through the rooms, so finally at the end, we were like, and it costs $15 a person. So at the end. One of the clients goes, "Well, we haven't gone to the basement yet." So I was like thinking to myself, "Oh God, why did he have to see that there was a basement?" And so we go to the base. So we go and we realize there was a parking garage.
Right.
That's the basement. So all of us were like, "Thank God."
Well, the cars were artistic design.
Yeah. But one of the things I said was that we were willing to go to the museum. That was something about sobriety, that you had a bunch of people that were just willing to try something new.
Yeah.
Regardless of the outcome and whether you enjoy it or not, because you have to find out if you don't enjoy something by actually doing it. And people that are in the grips of addiction don't normally do that.
Well, they're isolating and locked in their room.
Right.
Right? Or out there being just searching for something they're never going to find.
Right. And it's like these simple things. And then you go outside afterwards. We eat at these food trucks that they have there. And it was a great day. Yeah. And, my food wasn't great. I'm probably not going to eat at a food truck for a while.
Picked the wrong truck.
I picked the wrong truck.
Of course.
You never pick the truck at the end. Always pick like the truck in the middle. I had to pick the last truck on the row. And
you probably got the oldest, most stale food.
Yeah.
Right.
And he was like, had his head peeked out trying to grab me in. But, so we are a show about addiction and recovery. We're also a show about life after addiction, about life after you get sober, which is what we talk about a lot, which is where the fun is.
Yeah, what happens once people actually get sober? Certainly there's a lot of people out there in crisis that need help, and we welcome those phone calls.
Yeah.
And we welcome helping people. And, of course, there's people standing by to help people. Even if they don't want to talk to us on the air, they can call up the station here, and we can patch them into someone that can help them out. Or you can call in and be in the air if you have a question. And we have two great guests today, so that's going to be exciting. We'll talk about them in a second.
And you could also find us on Facebook at KLEAN Radio. You could live stream us at KLEANradio.com and see the world's famous Judah dance.
Yes, it is famous.
How great was it when somebody walked into your office last week and they go, Judy, you got talent.
Yeah, I know.
And,
Your head is still 5 times larger than it's
you
been
know,
in a week.
It's I'm allowed. And
For our new listeners, this is our second season.
Yeah.
We started in Anaheim out of 980 AM. And we're really excited about bringing our show now to San Diego as well as here in LA.
Mhm.
And I think we're adding New York shortly.
Yes, in a couple of weeks we'll be on WABC in New York, which is really exciting. And it's exciting that the message of sobriety, of addiction, is getting picked up, and where it's not anymore this, there's a fine line now because it's so hard. You see in the mainstream media, you see with shows like Celebrity Rehab, and you see all these different shows, and it's not always an accurate portrayal of life after addiction, of life after you get sober. And I think it's a really cool topic right now.
Absolutely. And for those who have not heard any of our previous 2 seasons, you can go to KLEANradio.com. That's Clean with a K. And you can go to the archive section. And we have 2 seasons worth of incredible guests, from Bob Forrest to Jennifer Jimenez to
Our returning guest tonight, Tony Denison.
Who's going to be joining us in a few minutes
Yeah.
for the closer. So I encourage people to also, after the show tonight, if you have some time, to go back and peruse some of our past shows. Which,
Good word.
Yeah, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah, very good. That's sobriety.
Right.
You know how to say
Actually,
peruse correctly.
And I don't slur.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Anyway, so our guest tonight.
Yeah, we have a couple amazing guests tonight. It's actually really cool. We have a man, a really cool doctor from UCLA. His name is Dr. Timothy Fong, MD. He's director of UCLA Gambling Studies Program. He's also director of UCLA Addiction Medicine Clinic. He likes to be called, he said his mother calls him Timmy, but we'll call him Dr. Timothy Fong. And I'm sorry, I'm bad with names sometimes. And also an amazing guest tonight from The Closer, the TV show, Prism Award winner, Tony Denison. Welcome guys.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nice to be here.
Wonderful to be here.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for coming in. We were talking before the show, Andrew and I.
Hello?
Yes, we can
Hello?
hear you.
Yeah, okay.
And Tony, you're not on the set. And to everybody out there listening, the number here is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980, 888-539-2980.
I'm glad you said that because I didn't know the number.
Yes,
Okay.
and I had to cut and paste it on your Facebook page.
Oh,
So one of the things that was very interesting is I remember you were telling a story, and it actually fits in perfectly with both guests. Tony used to run a gambling club in New York City, but he also prided himself on being an actor at the same time. Until I remember you saying one of your clients at the gambling place said, you always say you're an actor, but aren't you just more of a gambling club?
Well, she said to me, you don't really want it enough, the acting. And I said, why do you say that? She said, because you're making money doing this thing, and you're not willing to go out there and really, do what it takes to look for an acting job. You're not hungry enough is ultimately the shorthand version of it all is you're not hungry enough. And she was right. I didn't want to accept it. Like any good, alcoholic addict, I was like, no, I was in denial instantly. No, isn't that the first word out of an alcoholic's mouth? No. And
If somebody's offering me free alcohol, it's yes.
Well, okay, yeah, but does that
Not if you're offering it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, that was it. So it was like you're not hungry enough, and she was right.
And also in the studio, like I said, we have Dr. Timothy Fong.
Hey, what's going on?
What's cooking? Good looking.
Not much.
And I got to be honest, you're extremely young looking. I expected to come into the studio and, pleasant.
Well, it's hard to tell our age sometimes. It just turned 19 a couple weeks ago.
You were on the Doogie Howser Celebrated program.
Doogie was a few years ahead of me. Yes, that's correct.
And you work at UCLA, a great hospital out in
I do.
University.
Best in the West.
Yeah.
That's our motto.
But except football teams,
Well, we can make it to the championship game,
which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's a nice campus, UCLA. It's beautiful.
So we just went smoke-free as well.
What do you mean smoke-free?
Well, the hospital went smoke-free just last week
Where would you smoke in the hospital anyway?
on the psych ward.
You actually were able to smoke in the psych ward?
Oh, yeah. They had a smoking
wow.
middle patio.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now you go completely crazy because you can't have a cigarette. Is that it?
Absolutely.
You get
absolutely.
a patch and you get some gum.
You get both. That's
You get
that's
both.
the UCLA
Look, you really
way.
want a cigarette that bad, just throw yourself out the window.
That's right.
And you won't want a
You
cigarette.
can't
after
actually
that.
open the windows.
That's right.
But is there a gambling section of the rehab? Of the psych ward? Or
Like trying to gamble or trying to get off gambling?
Trying to get off gambling.
No, there actually is not. No, I'm the co-director of our UCLA Gambling Studies program. And we've been in business for about 7 years, really looking at the causes and courses of pathological gambling, trying to figure out what's going on in that brain of people who just can't stop gambling. So we develop treatments, we figure out what's happening in there, and we do stuff like this to try and raise the visibility of this very, very serious hidden addiction that really, unfortunately at times destroys and ruins lives.
I think a lot of people know that people have problems with gambling, but they don't think that it's an addiction. What would you say to somebody that said, it's not an addiction, that's just someone that just, likes to gamble?
Just likes to gamble. Remember that Calvin Klein ad a few years back that there was a very fine line between obsession and passion and things like that?
Yes, I actually do remember that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's the same thing, I have a very simple screening tool. I'll say to folks, does your behavior cause you problems or does it hurt your life? Or does it help you get better? If your behavior that you do causes you problems and you do it over and over again, it's an addiction. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, gambling, work, sex, shopping, video games, you name it. It's the same disease. It's the same brain. And people said, yeah, but they're not using drugs. They're not ingesting anything. Well, I'll say, have you ever had a high from running or from sex? Same thing happens from gambling. And I always remember when the first patients I ever had, he said, Doc, I use Coke, I use gambling. The only time I can put the Coke down is when I'm at the tables playing blackjack. It is a much more intense high than anything else.
Because you have to put the Coke down.
Well, you don't have to, yeah, but
Right.
yeah, exactly.
You gotta have a bullet in your pocket and go to the restroom.
Well, you can do online gambling.
Yeah.
Online
Well, not
gambling,
any- right.
not anymore.
Well, you're listening to KLEAN Radio. The number here is, you're live with KLEAN Radio. The number here is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. 888-539-2980. We're in the studio tonight with Dr. Timothy Fong, gambling expert from UCLA, also the head of all their addiction basically stuff. Is that correct?
Mostly. Well, I'm director of our addiction medicine clinic, but we have a whole slew of other addiction psychiatrists at UCLA, and I like to think of myself that I do teaching, research, and advocacy, and patient care, all related to addiction. So 7 days out of the week, I get to talk about drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, and shopping. That's not bad.
No, it's a good topic of conversation. You're like
It
Perez
sounds like
Hilton.
my marriage.
Yeah. we have like calls lining up, by the way.
We do. The phones are really lighting up today.
Yeah, so let's take Dee Dee, right? Line
You
one.
want to take line one?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Dee Dee, you're up. Welcome to KLEAN Radio.
Well, thank you. Hi, Andrew. Hi, Judah.
Hey,
Hello.
Dee Dee.
Hi, Dee Dee.
Hi. Is Tony there?
Yeah.
Well, you should be able to see him.
Oh, well, I can't. They told me to move away from the computer, but
Okay.
just calling in to thank Tony for all of his involvement with so many charities. And as you guys know, or Tony knows, that we're doing a special fundraiser for the Sunshine Kids, which Tony and GW support.
That's
And
GW
just
Bailey
wondering
for people
also
listening.
if that is something that's part. You talked about your life after recovery. Is that something that you feel is so important to you that you give back and think less of yourself but think more of others?
Well, being sober, you suddenly are able to think about other people and maybe their concerns and cares. One of the most sobering things in the world is working with kids, the Sunshine Kids, because the first situation that it really struck home was the first time I worked with them on this trip that they had taken coming to California, which is an annual thing for the Sunshine Kids. I was working with these kids, and they were so outgoing, and I mean, some of them you could see were on prednisone, so steroids, and others, they had some head scarves on, but a lot of them just seemed like they were just fine, like regular kids. And there were two kids. I remember this one guy and this one girl who I just thought were, the most outgoing kids I ever met. And I remember about a month after they had been here, I said to G.W. Bailey, I said, so how's that kid Jason doing? And he goes, oh, he's gone. I said, oh, he dropped out of Sunshine Kids? He goes, no, he's gone, Tony. He died. And I'm like, what do you mean he died? And he goes, I said, but he looked healthy as... And I remember that, and the girl had passed. And I remember I thought, wow, anytime you ever think you got a problem, you look at a kid who's got who's got cancer, any young person who's got any kind of life-threatening illness, you don't have a problem in the world,
And you got into this after you got sober, I guess, working.
Well, I mean, I've been sober over 18 and a half years, so I I just got involved with the Sunshine Kids when I started on the Closer, which was 7 years ago. But I've used to donate money and sometimes time to animal rights causes.
And
which
everybody
I still
else
do.
got on board with that, and he's
Right.
like,
It's
nah.
like
Yeah.
enough animal
Dying
rights.
cancer kids need me more.
No, I mean, I was it that Gandhi said you can judge the tenor of a nation by how it treats its children and animals.
Right.
So I try to be an upstanding citizen by doing those kinds of things.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Dee Dee, because
Yeah.
you post on our Facebook all the time. And
thank
those
you
that
very
don't know, you can
much.
go to facebook.com/Klean Radio.
And anytime you want to post on our wall, Dee Dee, please feel free. You
thank
do a
you.
lot of good work with
I
charities.
do want to say thank you, gentlemen, for doing your show. It's wonderful, and it's great inspiration for many people that are listening. So you're doing good yourself also.
And thank
Thank
you,
you.
I want
Dee
to
Dee.
let Tony know that we're at least up to 2,500 now, and
That's
would love
dollars.
to
Yeah.
get to 10,000.
What?
I think we just lost
We
her.
lost Dee Dee.
That's too bad.
And if you're just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio.
Well,
That's
Dee Dee
Clean.
and friends, they collect a lot of money for
Yeah,
the
they should go to
Sunshine.
facebook.com/Klean Radio.
We'll
and we'll
actually
have a
post
link
the link
to
for the Sunshine Kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll put
great.
a link
For
up there.
Tony's
Absolutely.
charity.
Right.
Yeah, let's go straight into line 3. We have another call on line 3. Jason from Newport Beach. Welcome to KLEAN Radio.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are
How
you?
I've got a friend that has an opiate addiction, and my question is, I've seen this before with a friend who was addicted to heroin, and they were able to come off of it by dosing down and then going to rehab, and they just put them on other pills. They put them on other pills that they were addicted to, and I wanted to know what kind of hope do I have for my friend who's having to take opiates every day, or if they go into withdrawals, to actually come free of this drug, you know?
Completely sober. Is it Suboxone, or do you know what type of other drug
I think
there
it was
Hydrocodone?
I'm not real familiar with drugs
Isn't that
I use
Vicodin?
myself.
Probably.
But hydrocodone, is that
Yeah,
what it is?
it's Vicodin or Norco. Dr. Fong, good question for you.
Yeah, here's the very simple thing. Anyone who gets into treatment can get better. A lot of times people think, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm not going to get better. But if you get into treatment, you get the right kind of help, it'll work. For opiates specifically, we have in our toolbox, we have methadone, we have Suboxone, we have naltrexone. And I can tell you right now, if he gets the right treatment, it will save his life. I've been prescribing Suboxone for about 8 to 9 years now, and it's got a very interesting rep on the street. But fundamentally, behind closed doors with doctors that know what they're doing, it saves lives. We don't have anything like that for coke. We don't have anything like that for methamphetamine or marijuana, but we have it for opiate addiction. The way I think about it, opiates, that is a medical emergency. This is no different than a heart attack or a diabetic problem with their sugars. This is someone who needs help right away. Emergency rooms is the best way to go. When you show, hey man, I'm with you, I'm your friend, I'm going to be with you for 24 hours a day until you get medically stable, that's probably the best thing you can do.
And that's the point of most of these drugs, right? It's to stabilize people and then slowly wean them off.
Yeah, well, the way I think about it is a lot of times patients come in and say, Doc, you got to give me this stuff. So, no, I'm not your drug dealer. I'm your doctor.
Right.
My goal is to give you a medication that will lay the groundwork for you to do recovery. I don't have a magic pill. I don't have anything that will take away all the consequences and disease stuff that you have. But I have stuff that will help you think, help you listen, help you sleep, and kill a little bit of that urge and craving that's just eating you up. I don't have anything that's just going to make you, again, 100% sober. And I think if we did, I think that's just not right.
I think there's anything that's so, again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, anything that's so powerful that you can take a little participation but just take the pill and suddenly be better must be worse for you than the thing that you're taking the pill for in the first place.
I think that's very well said. And I think a lot of times that's why Suboxone gets a very interesting rap out there, because it's a very powerful and potent drug. But again, I've seen it when used correctly, saves lives. When used incorrectly, it makes people drive them away from treatment and recovery and meetings and therapy and all the stuff you need to do to get better.
Well, I think you're also saying there's hope.
There's
What you're saying
always
to
hope.
Jason is that don't give up on your friend. There's hope.
Yeah.
And we've all seen
I
it.
also feel sometimes that the medical system is kind of set up in a way where the doctors do maintenance medication, and that's the business they're in, like pain practices and stuff, where people go for pain, and then they have a legitimate issue to start, and then they start on opiates, and all of a sudden now they're addicted to opiates, and the legitimate issue is gone, and they are still going back and claiming pain for opiates, which is kind of the situation my friend was in, and now they're were a productive citizen and now they're not so much a productive citizen.
Jason, I think you bring up a really interesting topic, and we see this quite a lot, where there actually is an ethical treatment or an ethical duty for doctors to treat people that have chronic pain. Why people sometimes become excessively addicted to opiates above the amount necessary to treat their chronic pain is debatable. And whether or not people should use opiates or not has been debated a lot. What I do know is that legally doctors have a mandate to treat people with chronic pain, and opiates are really the first line choice. And right, there's 3 classes of opiates, if I'm correct.
There's actually a lot more, but when I went through medical school, we were told pain is the 5th vital sign.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't treat pain, you're not doing your job, and you can get sued. On the flip side now, I also received no training on what are the signs of prescribing too many opiates or too much. So much of what, Jason, you're talking about is our own docs. We're not that well equipped to recognize the signs and symptoms of drug addiction and drug dependence. On the flip side, you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, there is a minority of doctors out there who overprescribe, who don't follow the letter of the law, and are out there to make a quick buck. And I think that's a real shame. It shows like this that we're trying to get that word out that not all of us are pill mills or quacks, as they say.
Right. But there's also a lot of things that are happening. There's now the drug registry. So people that used to doctor shop and go to 4 or 5 different doctors and get 5 scripts for oxycodone are not going to be able to do that anymore.
That's right. Pharmacists are getting more involved. We have doctors, insurance companies are cutting off people who are getting too many opiates. But it's still a rising problem where last year in 2010 there were more deaths in America from prescription drug overdoses than car accidents. Yeah. First time in our nation's history. Oh. So what I tell our med students is we doctors, we kill more people than cars.
Yeah.
So we got to start thinking about that. Yeah.
It's definitely a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to know is, doctors' businesses, they're businesses. They're there to make money, and they're there to make money ethically by oath. But where's the profit in putting their patients into addiction programs? I know they get reimbursed from medical companies or Medicare or Blue Cross or what have you, but is there a value to doctors to saying, okay, I think this person has gone through the drugs that they need to get them through whatever broken, bones or ailments they've had, and now I find they're addicted, so what program do I have, me being a medical doctor, having, staff of 10 people in my office, what can I do for this person that's going to get them into the road to recovery?
Right.
I don't.
Well, Jason, this is sort of like almost a business question, and I started as a social worker working in psychiatric units, and my first company was with 2 psychiatrists. And the reason that I started a company that actually started and ran psychiatric hospitals was because I felt like the treatment that I could deliver as a social worker with other facilities owned by other groups was inadequate. I wanted to own my own facilities in partnership with physicians so I could create my own treatment protocols. What I found out was that in the early years of running and owning psychiatric hospitals was that a lot of it was driven by reimbursement structures, like you're saying. So And it's a tricky little thing. It's not just what will be paid for, but how it will be paid for. So there's all these regulatory guidelines which actually become clinical mandates of how you have to treat somebody in order to get paid. And that's why largely now I'm in the private pay market. Like I rarely take insurance unless it's part of some other form of payment, because I don't think that being involved in a lot of that regulatory oversight is necessarily a positive thing.
Jason, thank you for the call. It's actually very interesting stuff he brings up.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing we want to remind all our listeners about, we're talking about medicine, we're talking about all these things. There are 12-step groups that are absolutely free, that have worked for many and many years, that co-join with seeing a doctor at the same time. But that's just one man's opinion. And you're listening to KLEAN Radio. You're actually listening to us live. We're in the studio tonight with Tony Denison from The Closer and Dr. Timothy Fong, basically one of the heads of all this addiction stuff at UCLA, and all around pretty cool guy for coming in the studio tonight. The number here is 888-539-2980, 888-539-2980. Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting stuff, but I think these are a lot of the questions people have, especially in the day and age of Google and all this stuff where, it's like you're almost told to ask all these questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are suspicious now of doctors. I mean, there's been so many sensationalized news stories about, doctors giving too much medication. But like you were saying, it's the minority. The minority of doctors are actually the profit in writing bad scripts is really not that large. Let's be honest. I mean, when you get like if an extra 5, 6, 7 people coming in and you're writing a script for them, so I mean, it's not huge amounts of money. It might be, it's not bad, but it's not worth risking your medical license. The people, and the DEA is out there. I mean, you see people getting busted all the time. It's rare for doctors to go on and on doing, they have statistical charts. They're monitoring every single prescription. So
I do think, though, that there's an amazing study that you were talking about, that more people died last year from prescription overdoses than car accidents. That's absolutely fascinating.
It's also weird that we don't really know how to use it appropriately, right? Like oxycodone from what I understand, was created originally mostly for cancer pain, terminal pain, right? And,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And now it's expanded into the use for back pain, and it seems like a lot of unnecessary alternative types of medications.
Yeah, and I think that's where we have a lot of amazing technology to help people end suffering. And pain is suffering, and when you need the pain medications, it's totally appropriate. But I think it's so easy to take it over and use it for purposes that aren't healthy. But one of the things that again really emphasize is that practicing medicine is a privilege. It's not a right on our side. I think too often we forget that, and too often we forget that as physicians we take on too many patients. We're anxious about patients. We're worried about patients getting upset at us and suing us. So unfortunately, that clouds doctors' judgments, I think, from time to time as well. And
also, you get into, I think, I'm a layman here when it comes to this, but the way I see it is the AMA, all of its minions, they've been educated and trained in the cut and swallow, basically, philosophy. Let me cut you open, take this pill. And in some cases, I believe that you take so long to look for a remedy that maybe cutting you open is the only solution, or giving you a pill.
We're heading out right now. We'll be right back. It's KLEAN Radio.
Do you suspect a loved one is abusing drugs? Call KLEAN Treatment Center at 888-601-6040 for a free drug test and consultation. A treatment advisor is available to help you administer the test and answer any questions you may have regarding treatment and more. We are here to help. Call us today at 888-601-6040 or find us online at cleantreatmentcenter.com for your free drug test and the start of a promising future.
Now, back to Andrew and Judah.
Welcome back to KLEAN Radio. We were just in a conversation with Tony Denison. Yeah. We got Judah, my co-host.
You're listening to KLEAN Radio.
And we have Dr. Timothy Fong.
And welcome to all our new listeners in San Diego.
Absolutely.
We're big fans of the Padres and the Chargers. Sorry about your loss today. And before we had to go to break, Tony was in the middle of a profound thought.
No, but that the AMA, I was saying previously, before the break, was that the AMA is, the people, all its disciples, they've been trained in the art of, cut and swallow. And
that could sound
they're going to cut you open to take care of the problem, or you take a whole series of pills, and as the pharmaceutical marches like Sherman to the sea, to get to whatever the problem is, there's all sorts of destruction along the way. However, sometimes their patients come and they're so beat up and so abused and so that sometimes an operation or a pill is the first recourse. What's missing, and I don't know, maybe Timothy and you, Andrew can explain that. Is today, are there now more avenues available, or more interest in having them do more preventative stuff, or do more stuff that's like not the cut and swallow philosophy? Because that's one way you're going to be able to take the medical costs down.
Yeah, I think that there's always been a push towards a holistic approach to healthcare. Doctors traditionally haven't been trained in them. There's more of a push now to move towards holistic care. What you eat, how you live your life spiritually, what you think about, and there's certainly a lot of evidence that works. But we also have to look at the amazing advancements that have occurred from the medical model of treatment. Psychopharmacology, pharmacology in general, in terms of the creation of medications, are just unprecedented in the amount of health that they've created worldwide. And I think that as much as you can criticize some of the negative aspects of what can go on with medications, the benefits far outweigh. I don't know what your opinion about is, Dr. Fong. Penicillin alone, I think, is a huge thing, and antidepressants have been,
I didn't mean it to be really critical. What I was saying is that sometimes, because they know how to do those things, you get used to one particular sort of bent.
Yeah, methodology.
Methodology.
Yeah.
But, and some people come in and you have no choice but to treat them accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes people can come in way before the onset of like serious, you just like, come in, I got a headache before it turns to, whatever. That there might be a better way for these doctors, these AMA, members, to treat them in a little bit more holistically, just as an option.
Our understanding, how long ago was it? Everybody was told that milk was good for them.
Well,
right. Most of us grew up. Most of us grew up that whole fat milk, a big glass of it in the morning, was good because of what? Calcium, right?
Well, God bless my parents. They're both gone, but way back when I was about like 16 or 17. My mom only used milk for cooking. She didn't really encourage us drinking milk, she said, because all it does is turn a little calf into a big fat cow.
Right.
So,
well, it is.
So when I think about having a glass of milk, I think, all right, maybe just a half a glass.
Okay.
But the point is that there's been a lot of information about what is healthy and what is unhealthy, and it's changed over time. I don't think there's a lot of confusion out there still about what's healthy. Is milk good for you or is it bad for you?
Well, goat's milk is good for you.
Well, I also think what it comes down to
it's a leaner animal.
But I also think what it comes down to as a huge point is that addicts are very they know how to get the drugs they want. And it's a two-sided street. For every doctor that's willing to write something, there's the addict that could find it, So it's not just on doctors, it's on addicts.
Yeah, and addict will go to 3 or 4 doctors, will say no till they find the one that they get that's, a little busy that day, and they end up
we read about those stories all the time.
Yeah. And we're encountered with them all the time as a bunch of is doctor shoppers, But you're listening to KLEAN Radio. The number here is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. 888-539-2980. Give us a call. These are great topics.
Let's jump into a call. Yeah. We got another call on line 1. It's Ruth from West LA. Ruth, you're on KLEAN Radio.
Hi.
Hey, Ruth.
How are you?
Hi, Ruth.
I'm okay. I have a daughter who is 60. She was anorexic at one time, and then she got better, and now I believe she's addicted to biking.
To biking?
Biking?
Yes.
Like over-exercising.
Yeah, and if I mention it to her, she gets, really upset, so I don't say anything, and yet I feel, look, I'm 82 years old. I care about her, and I'm not going to be here forever. So I don't know how to deal with this. Do I say to her and risk the wrath of her, not talking to me, and say to her, I am concerned about her.
First of all, I think this is a fascinating call because it brings up 2 issues that most people aren't aware of. One is that we're getting more people that are formerly considered geriatric, 62, 64 and above, that are having problems with addiction and eating disorders and things that before never went diagnosed because, 1, people are living longer, and 2, they're healthier as they live longer. So in our treatment center, for example, we see a lot of people with alcoholism coming in at 60, 65, and you used to never see that. People would, they'd end up being just left. They, put grandpa in the corner and let him drink himself to death. And now we're seeing that there's this area of geriatric medicine where addiction treatment is becoming a big part of that, along with other issues, traditional medical issues. And it's sort of a secondary set of the medical field and set of illnesses that have come upon us because people are living longer.
Yeah, there's that guy who was like 98 or 99 who's going to run in the next marathon at age 100. And, and you look at him and he looks like a guy in his 60s. And the funny thing was he started training for marathons when he was like 67.
Right, so there's hope for all of us here.
Goat's milk. Hey, Ruth, what are you worried? What are you worried about that's going to happen to your daughter? What's the worst case thing that you can think of?
Well, she's very thin.
Okay, so it really sounds like to me it's a combination of not only potentially overexercising, but maybe her symptoms of her anorexia are still very much active.
Yeah.
Very much active.
Yes, she's very, very. I mean, she bikes she bikes a lot,
and what are you worried about in saying, hey, I'm worried about your biking. I'm worried that it's taking too much time and taking damage on your body. What are you worried that she's going to say to you?
Well, I know it's a delicate subject because I know she gets, but you know what?
Well, it sounds like they have a past, obviously, because she
Yeah.
did, right? Your daughter dealt with anorexia issues.
Right.
So I'm sure in the past that when you had, confronted her, she probably did what all addicts do and probably, screamed and said, I don't want to talk to you.
Well, Ruth, when was the last time you spoke to your daughter?
It's been a long time, but I will say that when she was anorexic, I finally one day confronted her and I gave her a book, and she did go for help.
What was the book called?
I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
But isn't, Ruth, I mean, I'm asking this to the doctor and Andrew, isn't body dysmorphia, anorexia part of body dysmorphia?
Let's say the way around.
Oh,
yeah.
body dysmorphia
can be a part of anorexia.
What is dysmorphia?
It means that body dysmorphia is where the person actually doesn't really understand what their body actually looks like. They have a different image in their brain
I see.
than the way their body actually looks.
It's like with people with a lot of plastic surgery thinking...
Or people that are very overweight that think they're skinny, or people in the case of your daughter where she might be very skinny and she thinks...
Yes.
It's from...
But Ruth, you could also go get help for yourself, which is something we heavily encourage on the show, so you're not alone.
And people that can help you deal with what's going on with your daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you have an ability to reach out to her and contact her, I encourage you to call our treatment line. We can actually refer you to an outpatient therapist that can help you.
Let me get your number. Also, I have to tell you that I have sciatica and a herniated disc pressing on my sciatic nerve, and when I was at one time, I was in such agony that I literally, and I'm a vigorous person, I had to have help for 8 months, and the doctor was prescribing Vicodin and OxyContin and all these kind of drugs for me, and one day I said to him, look, I don't like to take this. It's making me crazy. And I said, besides, I don't want to get addicted to that. And he said to me, you don't have an addictive personality. And I said, the drugs don't know that.
That's a great line.
Hold on the line, and when you hold on, we're going to give you all the numbers that you need.
Yeah, we'll give you our intake line number, and they'll be able to give you a referral to speak to someone.
Early when you were talking about, the stuff that the doctor does, I remember when I finally decided to get sober, completely sober. And it's like, while it's difficult and there's all kinds of, triggers out there. I remember speaking to one guy one time who was a member of Gamblers Anonymous, and he couldn't even read, the newspaper for fear of running across a sports result, because he bet everything. I mean, he bet on raindrops, on a window. And and his life was like crazy. He had to insulate because there were so many triggers. And then I ran across somebody who was in, and I thought, I don't know how they do it, OA.
Overeaters Anonymous.
I'm saying, there's food everywhere, and you got to eat.
I always say the two addictions, and I know where you're going with this. I always say the two addictions I thank God I don't have are sex and food. Because you need, gambling. If you have a gambling addiction, if you have an alcohol addiction or drug addiction, consider yourself blessed because you could live without them. As opposed to sex and food, where you actually need to learn how to moderate them.
And Dr. Friedman, do you think people can get to a place where they could, and this is more, I guess, a public health question, but could people actually learn to moderate their gambling? I mean, I suggest, I'm guessing that you wouldn't encourage it, but you probably could, right?
Well,
50-50.
It's fascinating. It's 50. Well,
what are the odds? What are the odds?
Right. More like 70-30.
I'm just going to say, but before you answer this, I encourage anybody out there listening that's struggling this to go see Dr. Fong. And I'm not saying this because you came on the show. He's funny. And I think when you're going through a lot of problems in life, you want to come into somebody's office that actually has a sense of humor.
Right. Well, funny means weird, so let's
Funny-
stick with
no,
sense
no,
of humor.
You haven't seen
Weird's
me.
okay.
Yeah,
You haven't
weird's
seen me-
okay
you
too.
haven't seen me behind closed doors, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
That comes later tonight.
No.
But about
provided we
moderation.
have X-ray vision.
But about moderation.
About moderation. So the truth of it, we really know that there are some gamblers who come into our treatment program where they can reduce their gambling. And the reason why their gambling was out of control, maybe they had trouble with math, maybe they had trouble with finances, maybe they had a short stretch of time where they were stressed out and they just couldn't manage their impulses. Then there's the other gamblers that come in, like Tony is describing, and they have these biological urges and cravings that are so powerful that just a sniff or a whiff of a track or a casino chip, and they're gone.
Right.
And so we know these are a wide variety of gamblers through a whole different spectrum. So when patients come into me and they say, Doc, I need to stop gambling, I'll say, you know what? My goal for you isn't necessarily to stop gambling for you. My goal is to have you stop having harm from your gambling behaviors, to get you back into recovery. So I've learned very well over the last decade is that if I say to patients, listen, Tony, you got to stop doing this rest of your natural life. Don't ever go inside a casino again. I'm not going to see Tony again.
Right.
and vice versa. How do I know? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Tony can modify his life. And, we'll say, Judah, gambling is something we need. Do I take the 10? Do I take the 4 or 5?
Right. That's a gamble.
That's a gamble. Gambling is risk-taking. If anything's wrong with our country, I think we don't take enough chances. We don't take enough risks. We aren't willing to take losses and suffer. My kids' soccer league, they don't keep score. Right. So he doesn't learn
Which I think is absolute crazy.
Right.
I agree with you.
No one learns how to lose.
Dennis
learn how to lose.
Years ago, I heard Dennis Miller say a joke, because they were taking dodgeball out of schools, and he's like, well, isn't life one big succession of getting hit in the nuts by a ball? And he goes, we're raising kids. You're right. It's like T-ball. Without scores.
Well, it's like everybody gets an A because we don't want to help hurt their self-esteem.
Right. Like a B as a D just turned, B as a D just turned upside down.
And I think, to a lot of these patients, they haven't learned how to deal with loss or suffering or figured out how do I get back and live a responsible life that's meaningful to everybody.
Well, that's an addict's worst fear, though. What you're talking about, and something I talk about often, is that most addicts believe their feelings can kill them.
That's right.
It's a maybe it's because of the oversensitivity, whatever it is. If I used to hear this guy in New Yorkshire, nobody's tombstone said they died of their feelings. But most alcoholics, addicts, gamblers believe their feelings could kill them.
Yeah, well, the feelings are the result of thoughts. And I believe, somebody can correct me or agree with me. I think that our feelings are the result of our thoughts. And the reason why we think that they're real, that the thoughts are real, is because the feelings are real. We really feel happy, we really feel sad, we really feel mad, we really feel glad. And because we feel we think that these thoughts are valid because we suddenly feel this stuff.
That's right.
But it's all, the most important thing for us to do is just have a new thought, and hopefully a new feeling will result. I don't think we can separate thoughts and feelings, can we?
No, thoughts lead to feelings that lead to behaviors. Right there, he really did it. He did cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah,
that's why we have him.
Oh my gosh, that's unbelievable.
And,
I spent $120,000 to learn that.
So did he.
And if you just
in therapy,
if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio. You could follow us on Facebook at KLEAN Radio. Please like us.
Good. That's so
and
good.
Everybody's laughing. You could hear us having fun in the studio. And we're in the studio tonight with Dr. Timothy Fong, Director of UCLA Gambling Program and Director of UCLA Addiction Medicine Program. We're also in the studio tonight with the legendary actor. You might remember him from shit shows as Crime Story or Joey Buttafuoco. And he played Joey Butt and John Gotti. He played
the wise guy
and everything.
Did
basically.
Fisher ever come after you, by accident?
No.
Okay.
No, but him and Joey Buttafuoco don't get along.
I never met the man, so I shouldn't say never because never means there's hope. I've not ever met the man.
And star of The Closer, and it was just announced recently, star of his own, The Closer.
Well, I really believe that when people say to you, "I never want to talk to you again," you'll be talking to them.
Right.
But when they say, "Look, I don't ever want to talk to you again," the possibilities are like slim and none, and slim left down.
He's like Confucius, and
master of magical thinking.
He is. He's helped save my life by and one of the things we talk about in the show is the challenge of we talk about with getting sober, and I'm sure Doctor you could relate to this, is challenging the belief systems. And Tony's a big advocate of is that working for you? How's that working for you? Are your thoughts really working for you?
Does the belief make you happy?
And
or
it's
does it
sort
make
of
you
like
sad?
what you were saying when a patient comes into your office and says, you're basically saying to them, well, is it working for you?
Right.
And it's hard right away. I'm sure most of the time they say, well, sort of.
Well, they say that alcohol is, but a symptom of a far greater problem. So I think if we're a collection or the results of all of these beliefs, that we're the sum total of our beliefs, and there's some beliefs that we learned that were foisted upon us.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and I think one of the lessons I learned very early in my career is people use drugs and alcohol and gambling for two reasons. Number one, to feel normal. Number two, to get high. And I just maintain that simplicity of thought. And when people come in, I say, listen,
That's
whatever
great.
you've been doing hasn't worked for you. We need
Right.
to switch it up. But more importantly, you know that. You haven't been able to figure out how to switch it up, and I'm here to try and help you switch gears in a direction that's better for you.
Now, is the super problem over both, besides fear, is that we have a defective pleasure center, right? I mean, the alcoholic and the addict. I mean, the addict. Let's say,
Yeah,
destructive addict.
One of the things that I've been doing this for a while. I hate the idea of using the term defected or damaged.
Okay, good. I like
or
connected and
screwed up.
disconnected.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
like positive and negative.
I tend to like to use the words unique.
So we have a disconnected pleasure center.
It's not even disconnected. It's like dysfunctional at times.
It's special.
It's
It's unique.
It's unique. Yeah,
It's,
but
Well, I think dysfunctional is a much more severe word than disconnect. I'm only kidding.
no, well, it's, but yeah, no, absolutely.
and by the way, I forgot to give the number. The number is 888-539-2980. That's
No, that's a good point,
888-539-2980.
That's a good point.
And Tony won't let me finish.
Oh.
888-539-298. Tony has defected.
Hey, he's got a Prism Award. He can say
he
whatever
does,
he
he
wants.
does.
That's right.
How amazing is that? And for people that are listening that they don't know what the Prism Awards are, they're basically Tony's on a show called The Closer, and he plays an alcoholic on the show. So and
Recovered alcoholic.
I'm sorry. Yeah, an alcoholic, a recovered alcoholic.
He wouldn't be playing it well if
Yeah,
he was.
if that's true. And the Prism Award is for the best accurate portrayal in a series of.
The government, in conjunction with trying to look for positive messages from television,
Which is very hard these
which
days.
is very hard to do. When there's shows that deal with addiction, of any kind, especially alcohol and drugs, if there's a positive message that the episode of the show or the movie is portraying, then the people from Washington, the Prism Award Foundation or group, tries to acknowledge that. But even the positive message could be like everybody gets destroyed as a result of their addiction. But the positive message is that, hey, this is what could happen if you do this. It's a warning. Right. Thank you.
Doc, so there are a lot of people that are listening tonight, and we realize this. A lot of people are scared to call in. They're not just scared; they're embarrassed to call in and talk about the problems they're having.
And there's so many confusing messages out there, right?
Yeah, it's just really hard. I mean, just as you're driving down the street, as you're listening to commercials, I mean, it's confusing. I mean, life today is confusing. We've been talking about this. There was a story last week that said, in times of economic crisis like we're going through right now, people are drinking more. People are using more drugs. People are struggling out there.
And gambling more, too.
Gambling more. And what do you say? What do you say to people that are in the shame? Like, what's the greatest to get out of the shame?
Yeah, well, I have a very simple message, is that you got to tell somebody, and you have to be willing to get through that and say, hey, my life sucks right now, or I'm really suffering, and I'm the only one who can do something about it if I tell somebody, if I go out and ask a question or write an email to somebody or just let somebody know. I mean, by the time they come to see us, because we're the addiction specialists, they've self-identified. They said, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready to come in. I'm ready to see somebody. But it's when they're in the ER or when they're in their primary care doc or when they're at the church or they're in Ralph's or walking around and they're on the fence. And I think that's really where we're trying to figure it out. As an example, we have this free state-funded treatment program for gamblers. Completely free. Doesn't cost anybody a dime. And we have residential treatment. We have outpatient treatment. And we're trying to spend the money. We're trying to get people to come in for help. And it's hard. We do billboards, we do radio shows, we have
What do you
TV
think's the
spots.
reason?
People don't want to stop gambling, but
You don't
that's
think it's shame,
No,
too?
shame far and away.
Yeah.
And with the behavioral addictions like gambling and sex, shame is much, much greater. I mean, you can say,
One of the things I think is I don't think addiction professionals and treatment centers like myself do a good enough job of explaining what treatment is and how there is really hope on the other side of engaging in treatment.
Yeah, I mean,
it's too scary. It's like, and also people don't believe it works.
Exactly. They hear a lot of myths out there, and people say to me, "Sell me recovery."
Right.
Yeah. They say you can sell me a drug, you can sell me gambling, you can sell me, sex.
It's because it's impossible.
Sell me recovery.
It goes like this. It's like, and I say this to parents. I used to work with a lot of teenagers, and they used to say to me, "Why?" The kid would get sober, and they'd say to me, "Well, why isn't he better? Why is he still?" And I'd be like, "He was messed up for 18 years." You think in 2 months, 5 days, all of a sudden, presto changeo. And it's very hard. It's, somebody has a heart attack. You expect them to take a long time to recover. You're understandable. You're but when addiction, it's like, because I guess they have caused pain to others, you're like, come on.
Well, there's so much anger.
Right, there's so much anger. You're like, get better now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that shortchanges what people are going through. I'm sure you see that. I'm sure you have wives that bring in their husbands.
And husbands that bring in their wives.
Right.
And in L.A. particularly, this is the here now city. It's literally, why aren't I better yesterday?
Right.
But, I think fundamentally, not only does it take time, but I think where people really lack nowadays is inspiration. Inspiration to lead to motivation, and motivation lasts. Inspiration, in my mind, is a fleeting moment, but it can lead people to get into a motivated state.
It's like keeping the fire up.
That's right. And I think as people call, like for instance, they call UCLA to try and get an appointment with us, 6 to 8 week wait list.
Right.
That's totally unacceptable. Yeah. And they call and trying to find, a good rehab program, and, they get turned down, or they can't make it there, or they have childcare issues, and it's tough. But I think on the flip side, when you see these people come through and their lives are in recovery, it's not only magical, but it's what keeps me going every day.
Right. It's basically like every day you get to see a baby born. And that's watching somebody get sober. That's watching somebody overcome their addiction. Is watching basically a baby born.
Right. Absolutely.
It's like the movie. One of my favorite movies, my top 10 favorite movies, is Postcards from the Edge. And I think, I hope I'm not misquoting this later.
You've seen it 3,000 times.
Well, okay.
If you're misquoting it at this point, Tony's addicted to showing people, by the way, Postcards from the Edge.
Are you in that?
No, I wish I were. But at the end of the movie, Gene Hackman says to Meryl Streep, he said, when she was going through her stuff, she was doing looping, and he said, look, he says, in the movies you have a realization, and then everything changes in the very next scene. He goes, in real life you have a realization. He goes, and maybe it changes like a month from now.
Right.
A little bit further down.
Right.
But as long as you keep getting those realizations, and then say, okay, it may not. I tell people, it's not going to be as long as you think, but it's not going to be as short as you like. So.
And also, it's funny that you say that and you bring up movie references, because we are so movie-oriented, and everybody in America has seen 100 different versions of It's a Wonderful Life, right? And what's the whole point of It's a Wonderful Life is you get this glimpse, right, and of how differently it would be. But when you get sober, it's like you don't get it's like you had the glimpse, and the glimpse was, you don't get to say, oh, I choose that. You're like all of a sudden stuck in reality. And, and Tony's very fond of saying, in every great story, the hero walks into the unknown. And
because the known sucks so bad.
Because the known sucks so bad, right. And I was trying not to say the suck. No, and I think alcoholics and addicts and gamblers and all these people, you could become the hero of your own story. If you're listening tonight, walking into the unknown is the greatest thing a hero could do. Mm-hmm. And that's sobriety. And
and there's great hope out there.
Yeah.
I mean, there really is. I mean, it's amazing.
Amazing. I mean, Dr. Fong has seen it. Tony has seen it. Andrew, you see it on a daily basis. There's the people out there that are listening that are on a Sunday night that are going through a rough time. I promise you there's hope. There's hope. Every single person in this studio is offering you hope.
Right. And the outcome and how you get there is different for everybody.
Yeah.
It isn't, if you saw somebody do it wrong or you saw someone do it right, it's going to be different. Your path is probably going to be different. But there's a path for everyone, and it's available. You just have to be willing.
And let's thank our guests for coming in. The legendary actor, handsome man, the Richard Gere of TV, Anthony John Denison.
I still don't think he's going to do the marriage thing with you, Judah.
Yes, he will. No, just an amazing friend. I mean, we're not even friends. We're like we're
like family.
We are family. And I hope you come back, Dr. Fong. Timothy, you're just you're a good dude.
Thank you.
And a doctor from UCLA who's really just trying to help people.
And how do people get in touch with you if they are interested in
we
gambling issues?
Yeah, we have several things. We have our UCLA Gambling Program website, www.uclagamblingprogram.org. Feel free to contact me through UCLA by just emailing me. And that's right at tfong@mednet.ucla.edu. I love to take emails and respond back to people. And again, if you're looking for help for gambling, 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-GAMBLER, 24 hours a day. Gets you patched through.
That's the free gambling, you said?
The free gambling
And how does
treatment.
that work? The casinos have to pay the state money?
No. Well, our state of California, we have an Office of Problem Gambling that receives funds from a number of the gaming industries, and those funds go back to, we have $5 million a year to spend on free treatment for gamblers and affected individuals, husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, children of those who have been affected by gambling addiction. So it's an incredible service. We've been in operations for about a year and a half right now, and 1-800-GAMBLER is the number to call to get more information and get help right away.
Sounds great. I'd like to thank all our guests, especially our new ones tonight in San Diego. We will be back again next Sunday night, 8 to 9 p.m. People can also reach us on KLEANradio.com. It's Klean with a K. It's been a great show.
Yeah.
Thank our guests once again.
Yeah, by the way, what is 1-800-GAMBLER in regular numbers?
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, okay. And if you want to find out that answer, go to our website. And we're going to link all our guests on our website tonight. Thank you again. You're listening to KLEAN Radio. Have a great week.
Thanks for listening to KLEAN Radio. You can tap into KLEAN Radio 24/7 at KLEANradio.com, featuring a live video stream of the show, the best of KLEAN Radio, and even watch Andrew's appearance on Dr. Drew's Life Changers. If you or someone you know is in need of addiction assistance, you can call this number right now, 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040.
Do you suspect a loved one is abusing drugs? Call Klean Treatment Center at 888-601-6040 for a free drug test and consultation. A treatment advisor is available to help you administer the test and answer any questions you may have regarding treatment and more. We are here to help. Call us today at 888-601-6040 or find us online at cleantreatmentcenter.com for your free drug test and the start of a promising future.